make no friends in the pits and you take no prisoners. 1 minute you're up 500,000 in soybeans and the next, boom.
Do not attempt to adjust your device.
The revolution starts now.
We have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Turn those machines back on!
You are about to enter the halls of justice.
Show me the money!
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
This is the halls of justice. He is your host, Justus.
All right, everybody together now. I do not own the rights to this song. I did want to say a big rest in peace to Michael Stanley. Passed away this last week. And so I'm having a hard time. Welcome to the Halls of Justice, yada, 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 and our guest host, the Fat Man. I'm having a hard time, Fat Man, wrapping my heads around this on a few different fronts, so bear with me here for a second while I expound upon this. So, number one, growing up in the area here, this guy was a staple, and he never got the success big head, even though he was just kind of local famous. He would always talk to everybody, Michael Stanley, that is. Number two, we're kind of brothers in a sense that I don't share this a lot. I have fought the cancer twice and am winning. Michael Stanley had prostate cancer. He fought that and won. And then, unfortunately, he passed away from lung cancer just last week. So that's all we're going to say about that. There is one other thing here I did need to say, and we'll just say it. So here we go.
Just want to thank you both, and I want to thank
you.
The former general. I keep calling him general, but the guy who runs that outfit over there. I want to make sure we thank the secretary for all he's done to try to implement what we've just talked about, and for recommending these two women for promotion. Thank you all. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
Just want to thank you, Fat General guy. The guy that runs things over there. So thank you. His name is Lloyd Austin, by the way, dumbass.
Yeah, you might remember your vice president nominated him to be Secretary of Defense. This is getting extremely concerning. I know we joke a lot about it, and Joe and this kind of things, but this is just getting worse and worse and worse. Did you see the other day when he was doing a speech and he goes, he looks down. You could see, and I hate to keep going back to this because just like what you said about Michael Stanley, it hits a little too close to home because my mother with Alzheimer's. But I used to see her do, when she was in the earlier stages of it, I used to see her do the same thing because she had enough mental capacity still there that she knew something wasn't connecting, and she was frustrated because she lost her chain of thought. And you saw Biden in the speech I'm referring to. He dropped his head, and you could tell he was frustrated and saddened. And he goes, "Where am I?" And, and some people may argue that he was like, where am I at in the speech, or where am I at but I think it was more than that. And this is becoming the worst kept secret in Washington, D.C., that Joe Biden doesn't have the mental capacity to be driving a car in public, let alone to be president of the United States. I mean, look at the Democrats. They're trying to strip powers away from him left and right. And there's no other reason. No one's ever tried to do this before to a president, and now all of a sudden they're doing it to President Biden. And just on a human level, Justice, this is sad to me. I mean, forget about politics for a minute. Forget about whether you like the guy or you don't like the guy. On a human level, this is sad. And his wife, who's a physician, Dr. Jill Biden, shouldn't she know better? I'm being facetious about that,
yes.
But shouldn't she know better and be able to step in and go, look, we need to do something here. And maybe that's what's going on. Maybe that's why he's not doing press conferences. That's not why he was leaving a press conference the other day, and somebody yelled a question to him. I think it was about the border, and his answer was, yeah, we'll get that done. You know, I'm paraphrasing a little bit. We'll get that handled, God willing. Well, God willing is not a plan. Hope is not a plan. You know, this is just getting, again, it's very frightening from a national perspective, but it's also very sad from a human perspective.
Yeah, I had there was a new study done, and I can't find it now. I had it here, but I have misplaced it. Just about 50% of the people don't think he's got the mental capacity to perform the job. And I don't, again, I lost the study. I don't know where it was taken, but this was just recent. Like in the last couple of weeks, I saw this, that now 50% of the people that were polled think that he does not have the mental capacity to do the job. And as you said, yeah, who's really running the show there? So how about we do a little segment called Kids in Cages? So we now have a full-blown border crisis, and I'm going to call it that, every day down on the southern border. Biden's administration has elected to adopt the very same measures that they had condemned under the Trump administration, only this time it comes with a major rebranding. So what was once considered tragic and deplorable locking of kids in cages under President Trump is now considered the only humane and moral thing to do, according to the new administration. So it's just getting worse. It was predicted it was going to happen. Trump said it was going to happen. Everybody knew it was going to happen, and now it's happening. The kids are back in cages. What's the answer to this?
I'm just going to stand up and say it. No, 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 no. Justice, you got this all wrong.
Oh, sorry.
I reject the premise of where you're going with this. How dare you use the phrase kids in cages? That was under that tyrant, that fascist, that misogynist Donald Trump. This is the much kinder and gentler kids in shipping containers. You just don't understand how much kinder this is to these poor children. Let me give you a couple of quick stats. 3,250 kids in containers. Around half of them held for longer than the allowable 3 days, because that was a big thing under Trump. We're keeping them too long. Well, they don't have anywhere to send them, so now they're keeping them longer than 3 days. But that didn't make sense under the Trump administration. It was just Trump being a tyrant. At least 200 of those 3,250 in the containers are under 13 years old. And these, again, kids that come across without parents. These numbers are reported by that right-wing organization, the New York Times. So you know that the data's realistic and the data should be accurate. I mean, what is going on right now with the southern border is it's hard to fathom, and it was as predictable as saying you can predict the future and your first prediction is the sun will come up in the east.
So we are now using shipping containers? Is that what you're telling me? Like the ones you see on the trains and the boats that come into the dock?
Yeah. So if you look at some of the video, they look like, and I'm sure they're still using those quote cages, which were never really cages. And if you remember, if they were cages, they were Obama cages. But they have these things that, you know, they're shipping containers. That's exactly what they are. and they have an air conditioning unit in them, and then they're like a barracks, like almost like a military barracks. But here's the thing: that as harsh as that sounds, what's the alternative? Because Biden opened up the door, and now you've got all these people coming here because Biden said, "Come on in, come, let's make a deal. Come on down." And now these young people are here, and they don't know what to do with them. They didn't think it through, which has kind of been the policy. There's no thinking going on so far in the Biden administration.
So why do you think the parents are sending the kids in by themselves? What's the reasoning behind that? Is that the back door to get in for the parents?
Yeah, that's it. And sometimes the parents are already here, and there are some times where the parents. I mean, just imagine being this. And I know you're a father. I'm not, but imagine being in a situation where you think about the best option is to turn, and especially with a little girl. It's horrible on little boys too, but especially turning a little girl with the horrible stories of what's happening to women and girls on these treks. But the best choice for your child is to turn them over to a cartel or turn them over to a coyote that's going to take them to the United States, and then they're going to be released into the United States, and then they ultimately end up with family members. And look, this is a little over my pay grade, but you get things into, you get the child there as kind of an anchor, and there's just all ways around the system. But again, ultimately, once you're in the country, the chance of getting you out is almost nil, especially now that Biden has passed the policy of not deporting people.
Yeah, and it's just going to get worse. The mayors down on the southern borders of those towns are crying for help, and none's coming.
Well, Biden ultimately put it out there. Come on down. We'll leave the light on for you, and what the hell, we'll give you some free stuff too. I mean, basically what they've said is, hey, you, Mr. Restaurant owner in Texas, don't you dare open up. Follow the science, you restaurant guy. You follow the science. And, you look what they did in Brownsville, Texas. They've been testing some of these the illegals that are coming in, and then they get processed, and then they get released. And Brownsville, Texas started saying, hey, we're going to test some of these people. Since late January, they've had over 100 positive tests for COVID, right around 6%. Now, extrapolate that out. I mean, they've only gotten to 6% on the amount that they've tested. But what if that's an accurate rate of all these people that are coming through? If you're letting 6% of 100,000 people come through the gates, and they've got COVID, but Texas, hey, don't you dare open up. You're a bunch of Neanderthals. Don't you dare open up and let in the illegals, COVID positive or not. Speedy Gonzalez bad, COVID illegals good. I mean, that's pretty much what the Biden administration's saying to us. So look, and they're also lying about the numbers. Biden administration, they're just lying about these overall numbers. Good old Uncle Joe, Grandpa Joe, in Kakala. You want some proof? And again, we want to go to the right-wing think tanks. This one is Democrat Congressman, again, let me emphasize, Democrat Congressman Henry Cuellar from Texas. He's got it estimated at nearly 100,000 people coming in illegally in the month of February alone. 100,000 people. Now, going back to what I said earlier, use that 6% positivity rate. You just put 6,000 positive COVID victims into the U.S. population. It's like the population of Youngstown, Ohio, snuck across the border into Pennsylvania and tried to become Steeler fans. And no one seems to care. It's just, I mean, there's more out there. It's not just, again, because what we oftentimes do is we look at people on our side. But I give some of these Democratic leaders, and we need more of this, some credit for jumping up. Democratic Texas State Senator this time, Chuy Hinojosa. He says, Biden's not aware of what's happening on the ground Biden's not aware of what's happening on the ground in Texas. The Border Patrol is overwhelmed. Direct quote. Now, here's the big question. Why are they coming? Why are we blaming, why is this Biden's fault? Why isn't this Trump's fault? First of all, Biden did away with the migrant protection protocols, which kept the migrants south of the border. I don't know if you heard about this or not. The ones that Trump used the MPP to keep people in Mexico while they were waiting for their asylum hearings, Biden did away with that. And not only did he do away with it, he went and got those people. So if you were sitting on the other side of the border, Biden went and grabbed you and brought you 25,000 people. Well, no wonder 25,000 there, and then with the rest that are coming across, no wonder we're having too many people at the border crossings. Biden also got away or limited what ICE can do as far as arrests and DHS, arrest and deportations that ICE can do while performing their duties. We already know that they don't want the local sheriffs and the local PD, cooperating with ICE. Now they've completely done away with what they can do if they arrest somebody that's illegal and deporting them.
Yeah.
Now, Biden and the holler back girl, the circle around girl that does the press conferences, they both say there's no crisis at the border. Biden's own DHS chief is crying for help. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas also said Today, I activated the volunteer force to support Customs and Border Protection as they face a surge in migration along the southwest border. Mayorkas warned, we're not saying it sums up the whole Biden administration. He warned potential migrants. He didn't warn U.S. citizens. He warned the potential migrants. We're not saying don't come. Why the hell aren't you saying that? First of all, why aren't you saying don't come? He continues, we are not saying don't come. We are saying don't come now because we will be able to deliver a safe and orderly process to them as quickly as possible. So don't come now, but come in the future because we need your votes eventually. I mean, we need you to be Democrat voters. I mean, we want you to have a better life in the United States. This makes absolutely no sense. We are not saying don't come. Why the hell aren't you saying don't come?
Yeah.
And then a border agent, upon hearing this, said,
I quit.
Frankly, we can't catch and release them fast enough. Yeah, he should have said I quit, but he said we can't catch and release them fast enough. So this disaster that's going on the border. Oh, one other thing. Got this from the governor of Texas. In the Rio Grande section of the state, and you're going to love this one, all of last year, all of 22 under the misogynist, racist, communist, socialist, whatever kind of ish you want to come up with, Donald Trump, about 90,000 apprehensions in all of 2020 in the Rio Grande section. 90,000. Less than 3 months into this year, after Biden not only took office, but also offered up his come on down decree, welcome in, over 100,000 in 3 months of this year. 90,000 last year, 3 months this year, less than 3 months, over 100,000 arrests for illegal crossings.
And I'm going to go down a limb here and say, if they're sending these people, probably, as Trump would say, a lot of them are really bad dudes. Probably not the kind of people we want here. I would even go so far as to say that all those border towns are going to get a bunch of cartel members living there, coming through there, and now that there's no fear, that's no joke. The cartels are ruthless. You see just across the border what they do, and now it's going to be coming to a backyard near you, and that's just insane. This one just floors me.
And see, that's what shows on people like you, Justus, you're thinking, without even me giving you the information, that was a common sense thing you just did right there. Common sense would tell you that if you've got 100,000 people that were arrested coming across the border, in there are going to be some criminals, in there's going to be MS-6. Bingo, there was. Less than 1,000, but somewhere around 1,000 were either criminals that had a criminal record in the United States. They were arrested here and deported, or they were MS6 members.
I think that's MS-13.
And I'm telling you right now, or MS-13. Yeah,
You were halfway there.
I was only halfway there because they're not all here yet. That was another Biden moment. But here's the thing: one of MS-13 is too many. I mean, I know you're aware of what they do. These are bad people. Now, don't make it out like they did with Trump that I'm saying all people that come across the border are bad people. I'm talking about MS-13, man. These are bad people. And the things they do, there is no line that they won't cross. So if you let one of them in your country, you've just let way too many in.
Yeah.
And now you're talking 800, 900, 1,000 criminals and MS-13 members being allowed to come into this country. Catch and release is back.
Oh, so if you take this even further, if we unpack this a little bit more, and we're going to have to end this little segment, but think about this. So now you're getting these bad dudes. And MS-13 was already here, but not like it is about to be. So you couple that with the fact that they want to defund the police, do away with the police, take away cash bail, and reduce the size of the police, take away the police's right not to be sued. Couple that with these cartel members, this MS-13 gang, and if you think that Chicago is bad now, Philadelphia is bad now, Newark, New Jersey is bad now, if you think those places are bad now, what's it going to be in 4 years? You won't even be able to walk down the street. You won't. It's insane. I can't even believe this is happening.
Again, you're missing it. See, this is where you're not compassionate. This is where you don't care. What you don't understand is we ultimately don't need the police.
Yeah, I know.
All we just need a couple extra social workers.
Yes.
And we can even give them a nice shiny badge so people will know, and it'll say like social worker Smiley Mixer. Social worker Smiley will just come and, diffuse. And so when MS-16 comes and they're going to dismember your husband, 17, 18, I don't care which MS it is. It's one of the I don't care which one comes along. But when they come to dismember, your father or your brother and put him in a can with acid and let his body dissolve, no problem. I'm sure we can just call a social worker and they'll take care of the problem.
Yeah. The scary part is it isn't just that family member. It's the entire family. They don't just do one. So we need to move on because we could sit here and chit-chat about this all day. This I just saw today, and I tell you, I fell on the ground. There are a ton of people that are insulin dependent out there. Chances are you know somebody that has diabetes. If you don't know somebody, you have a friend that knows somebody. But so under the Trump administration, he put a cap on prices, right? So you used to be able to get a 90-day supply of insulin from $300 for $300. So one of the I'm having a Biden moment. One of the executive orders that Biden signed did away with that. Now, the cost of a 90-day supply of insulin went from $300 to $2,800 in 1 month. $300 to $2,800. So the people that don't have insurance that covers the prescriptions, and we're forking out $300 a month, maybe that wasn't so bad. But when you're talking about $2,800, you're going to get people half dosing, quarter dosing, trying to survive, and this is going to end very poorly.
See, you're, again, viewing this totally different than I would, because my dad happens to own a pharmaceutical company, and I love Joe Biden. That's why we donated so heavily to his campaign, and we look forward to him being president for life and continuing these types of policies that will obviously help the American people. We're thrilled about this. And then I have an uncle that actually owns Mobil, His last name is actually One, and his first name is Mobile. He's actually Mobile One, and we love seeing the rising gas prices that the president has been assisting us with. So far, so good as far as I'm concerned.
All righty.
No, it's insane. What you I'm being like Rush used to say. I'm pointing out the absurdity by being absurd. This was entirely predictable. When he signed this executive order, you knew what was going to happen, and it's going to happen, and it is happening. And think about these poor families. I mean, I joke flippantly about it, and I probably shouldn't, but think about these poor families. I can tell you one for me. If I had, and unfortunately, I'm not a diabetic
yet,
even being the fat man. If I had a medication that I had to pay $300 a month, and then all of a sudden that went to $1,500 a month. I mean, I forget $2,800. If that went to $1,500 or $2,000, that would wreck my budget. That would wreck me. This is sad. I don't know what I don't know what you have to do when you got somebody. Hey, I'm just Scranton Joe, and all we care about is the middle class, and we're not going to tax anybody in the middle class. It's just all lies. It's just all empty lies, and they're caving to the progressives, and they're caving to Wall Street. For the Democratic Party used to be the people that were against Wall Street. Man, you don't get more Wall Street than pharmaceutical companies.
Yep. And so you remember when I tell you that after we post the audio from our big podcast here, YouTube usually immediately sends me a message that says we have age restricted this? Well, not only is that bad, but YouTube has deleted all the videos of President Trump's CPAC speech and suspended the RSBN account for 2 weeks. So we get age restricted, but they actually went and deleted all the videos of his speech. How can that happen? How does that happen in America today?
Full confession, the reason we get cut off on YouTube so quickly is I actually do the show topless. So that's why we get cut off. Now, as far as why President Trump gets cut off, it's simple. Isn't this just the perpetuating what we've been going through with the conspiracy against people who speak anything to the right? And there's the Trump derangement syndrome is rampant. I mean, you're on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. There are still so many people out there that are consumed with Donald Trump. He's not president anymore. He's not president anymore. Move on to a new topic. We've got the border. We've got H.R. 1. We've got Congress that hates each other. We got gridlock. We got all these problems. We got the Middle East is still firing up again. All these problems in the world. And people are still worrying about what Donald Trump is doing. Who cares if he's playing golf? Who cares what he says? Who cares what he does? He's not president anymore.
No, move on already, right?
Exactly.
Come on. Move on.
Find a new trick.
Oh. So, answer me this. I got 3 questions for you. Is Florida being ravaged by COVID worse than states that have heavy restrictions?
Well,
just yes or no?
Oh, well, okay, no.
No. The answer is no.
No.
If
no.
the answer to that question is no, then everything the system told you about COVID must be a lie. Correct?
Yes.
If it's a lie, who goes to jail for that level of destruction to businesses and the economy?
Well, there's an easy answer for this.
Trump?
It's the Fauci rule. If you are lying for the greater good, so if you are lying to people about wearing masks, but that you then cover up the lie later by saying it was for the greater good because you didn't want a shortage of masks, then there's no wrong there.
Okay.
Somebody lied, people died, big deal. You think somebody should be punished for that? Come on.
Yeah. No. I think we're good there. So how does this grab you? Think about this. You and I want accountability in voting, right?
Mm-hmm.
How about Joe Biden signing an executive order prioritizing the voting rights of federal inmates and probationers? In the executive order, the president directed the attorney general to establish procedures to provide voter registration and voting materials to federal inmates to facilitate voter registration for those in federal custody. Now, this isn't like your average down the street jail at the sheriff's department or even a state-run prison. This is the federal prisons. I don't know what the population is there, but I do know you had to be convicted of a felony to get there. And usually if the feds are involved, it's a fairly serious felony or a weapons charge. Now these people get to vote. What's your thoughts?
This is all part of the takeover package. We refer back to this so much because I can't wait for this to be proven true. And now, I hope they don't succeed in it, but they're gonna try all of this. It all goes back to that takeover package, and you're probably getting tired of hearing it, where Puerto Rico, Washington, D.C. become states. They get rid of the filibuster, and then as soon as they get rid of the filibuster, everything is just wide open. It's anything the Democrats want to do in the Senate, all you need is a simple majority, and they have that. You're going to have open borders for voters. That's why with things going on at the borders are happening. They're going to turn Texas purple, and that's going to make it impossible for a Republican president to win. They won't have a chance. If you get all the electoral college votes out of Texas, it's over. The party's over. That's got to be a Republican stronghold, or the Democrats will win every time. And I'm telling you, this same thing is part of the takeover package, because their belief is if they can add votes in any way, shape, or form, whether it's through illegal immigration or through having prisoners vote, because they're assuming that most of those prisoners are going to vote for liberals or for Democrats. It's more votes in their pocket, and it's all part of the takeover package. And I keep saying it, if you hate the two-party rule system, well, wait till you see what it's like when you have a one-party rule. That's where they're going with this. I'm certain of that.
Yeah, let's pad the voting rolls at any cost. Hey, we're coming up on the break time here. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this spending package right here on the Halls of Justice.
Would you like to be a sponsor or advertise on the Halls of Justice? Email us today at hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com. That's Halls of Justice, spelled Justus, at roadrunner.com. If you have a show idea or like to be a guest, you can email us as well at hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com.
And we are back on the Halls of Justice. Nice to have you along tonight. For those of you just tuning in for the first time, I'd like to invite you to go to our social media pages, Facebook/Halls of Justice. You can find us on the Twitters if you just search up Halls of Justice, and on the old World Wide Web at hallsofjustice.com. And right there you can find all the shows, including today's. You can find the past shows, the archives. There's even a contact us button if you'd like to be a guest on the show, if you got a thought idea, if you want us to talk about something. It's all there, and I would really, really, really super love it if you could share it with all your friends. I know when you texted me earlier, you wanted to talk a little bit about the spending package, so what is on your mind there?
This one's going to get my blood boiling.
Oh, yeah.
The succubus bill, the biggest spending bill in the history of the United States, and it doesn't do much for COVID. Now, as you've heard on this program before, less than 9% of this money actually goes for COVID. And if you spend a little bit, and that's being generous, that's one of the higher figures. I've heard figures as low as 4 or 5%, and it all depends on how you interpret some of the spending. But let's be generous and say 9% of it does. So as you look through the bill, and I'm not going to tell you I've read this, but I've looked at a couple of pages. Like on page 97, ties back to what we were talking about earlier in the hour. Healthcare subsidies to illegals. That should be part of COVID. Page 306, federal employees. Get this one. It's good to be a swamper. Federal employees can earn up to an additional $25,000, and they also have additional help available with virtual schooling for their kids. Did you get that benefit? I'm just wondering.
Is this $25,000 one-time payment? Is this a month? Is
they
this
can get up to an
year?
additional $13 an hour extra. So whatever their pay rate is, whatever that is, if they worked during during COVID, they can get up to an additional $13 an hour.
Yeah, I would love that. I didn't. Luckily, for me, my job was one in which I had to work during the pandemic, but I got zero extra. As a matter of fact, I probably got stuff taken away just to continue working.
Look, I can tell by your haircut.
Hey, now.
You definitely do not have extra money in your pocket. I can definitely tell you are not spending money on beauty products. Page 347 of the bill. Another $1.5 billion for Amtrak. Now, we need Amtrak, don't we?
No.
I mean, we need trains.
No.
We need. Come on, no. We need transportation.
When was the last time you rode Amtrak?
1988.
Yeah, I rode it the day after never.
You're banned, aren't you? Aren't you banned?
Well, yeah, I did have that whole incident.
Yeah. Once you do something bad in an airplane toilet, they pretty much goes right across all the transportation modes.
I never thought that would get stuck.
Banned. You shouldn't have put the video out. And by the way, Amtrak, who's in line for another $1.5 billion, and I say another for a reason, because they still have $1.5 billion from the last stimulus bill that they haven't spent. And some of these we've talked about before. Some of these are a little bit new. $170 billion for schools. Again, doesn't that sound great? Hey, we're going to get our schools back open. We're going to get our schools, our teachers, our kids are going to books, and it's going to be good. Yeah, they don't have to spend this money till like 2028. This is just a payoff to the teachers union. How about $750 million for the global response to COVID? That's money going to other countries for COVID, not the United States. Talked about it before. Almost $500 million for arts and humanities endowments and museums. You can debate these ideas all you want. Maybe we need them. Maybe we don't. That's what Congress is supposed to do, debate some of these items and figure out whether we need them or not. We're giving away millions of dollars for racial equity farming.
Huh?
Say what? Exactly. Say, I can't even tell you. I looked to find out what that meant. I couldn't find anything to tell me what it actually was. But apparently it needs millions of dollars. $50 million more for family planning.
I could use
How
some
about
of that.
this? We were talking about, get in line. Just sneak across the border. Sneak. You know what? Make it easier on yourself. Go to Canada. Sneak back in from Saskatchewan. Declare asylum, and you'll get all this. You'll be fine.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about prisoners being to vote. If you're going to allow them to vote, what's one way to get them to vote?
Give them more
Your
little
way.
Debbies.
Give them more little Debbies. And how do you get little Debbies? You give them cash money.
Yeah.
How about those? You remember the name Dylan Roof? I hate to even say it. Disgusting human being. Also, do you remember the Boston bomber?
Yes.
From the marathon? Yeah. Both of those guys are going to get checks if this passes the way it is. And look, this is Republicans in the past have voted to give prisoners checks. So this is one that isn't just a Republican thing. This is Republican and Democrats. How is this money getting through? How do you look at that? And Republicans just Ted Cruz just tried to get a bill voted on stripping the money for prisoners out. And Dick Durbin came out and said, no, we had to pass it. It passed 50-49 directly across party lines. And they're going to keep that in the bill. The Republicans tried to get it removed, even though they voted for it in the past. They did try to get it removed. How about $300 a week unemployment through September? I mean, aren't we coming out of this thing? Aren't we getting people back to work? Isn't unemployment down to 6%?
Yeah,
aren't we heading in the right direction?
And there are 5 states now, I believe 5, that are maskless. So.
Yeah, we're going the right direction. Why do we need to continue paying extra unemployment benefits through September.
Go to work,
maybe
people.
you could talk about a small window or somebody who's affected, their industry still hasn't come back. Different story. Maybe there are some loopholes in there that you could have a small window for certain people. But if you got somebody sitting at home making $1,000 a week and their option is to stay at home making $1,000 or go back to work and make $800, what do you think they're going to do?
Right. I'm staying home.
I would, and I can't blame them. It goes on. $350 billion to bail out states. $350 billion with a B. Now let's take San Francisco. San Francisco used $150 million of their state money. Now, this is California's state funds. $150 million. They used that money. We could stay here for the next 10 years, and you wouldn't be able to think what they used $150 million on.
Cleaning up poop?
But let's just say, I think his name, it's Roy White, that's his name, and Snoop Dogg would be extremely happy.
Growing marijuana.
Marijuana and alcohol for the homeless population.
Yes.
For the homeless population.
Yeah, you might not have a home, baby, but I got some dope for you, and we're going to get liquored up.
So they paid $150 million to get them drunk and high, and we're going to send $350 billion to states to bail them out from making decisions like that. I mean, this goes on and on. Guys, honestly, if you follow this show, and we're thrilled that you do, we're happy to have you along. We can't tell you how much you guys mean to us, listening to this babble that we throw out there. But if you have any interest in what we believe in this show and what we bring to the table, spend some time researching this bill and just don't believe what the Democrats are trying to sell you. This is not about COVID relief. This is not about American relief. This is a progressive. Jen, the Hollerback girl, called it the biggest progressive bill ever proposed. Wait a minute. I thought this was COVID relief. I thought this was the Saving America bill or whatever the hell they're repackaging it as. Why would something that's going to save America be labeled as the most progressive bill ever proposed? Because it's not.
Right.
And if you listen to Democrats long enough, they'll tell you the truth. They won't do it by purpose. It'll accidentally slip out. And Jen Psaki, in her press conference, is that how you say it?
Saki?
Sukiyaki. yeah, that one. Oh, boy. And if you listen to Democrats long enough, they'll tell you what they're up to. It'll slip out every once in a while. Deplorables, okay? That was, we're gonna get rid of energy at the Biden when he was debating Trump. Where I'm gonna be against fossil fuels. Hillary Clinton. I'm gonna get rid of coal. When they will let it slip out, it's human nature. You can't be on guard around the clock, especially like Biden when he's got no brain cells left. You can't be on guard around the clock. And if you listen to Democrats talk long enough, they'll tell you exactly what they're doing. This is a progressive payback giveaway, take over the country, and they're taking us right to a one-party system, Justus.
Do you think if there was a redo today, you could have the election over again? Do you think Biden, without cheating, still wins?
No. There are a lot of people. Look, we talk about Democrats a lot, okay? But there are a lot of thinking Democrats. We had one on last week, Carl.
Love him.
Carl's. We hope to have Carl back, in the future, and he was a great guest. He is a thinking person. He has more left-leaning beliefs, and that's fine. We need that. I can't emphasize that strongly enough. I don't want everybody to agree with me because everybody shouldn't know the joy of being right all the time like I do. So I don't want everybody to agree with me. I want differing opinions out there. I want people to view things differently. I want people to debate openly. I want people to have a free exchange of ideas.
I'm going to throw something
out
here.
So when we say I'm sorry, go ahead.
Speaking of different ideas, I'm going to throw something out here and probably irritate a bunch of people. I'm going to ask you a question first, and then I'm going to explain. My question to you is, why are most of the teachers and teacher unions lazy?
We're having a bad connection. I can't. Technical.
I'm going to tell you that around here, we have some really good teachers that really go the extra mile. The school district that I live in didn't close at all. You had the option to go remotely or go on campus. So they didn't close at all. But when you break it down, we've had maybe, if we're lucky, one teacher every year that is really, really good. And we usually always average one teacher every year that you know must be in whatever the last year is before they can retire, and they just don't give a crap. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm watching.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The teachers union in Los Angeles didn't go back. We can't go back. We can't teach. We're going to catch the COVID. We can't be among that many people. We're going to catch the COVID. So what does the teacher union all do? They all go on spring break together to the beach. And nobody would have known about this if somebody didn't get the video. And now there's an email that says, maybe it's not a good idea to post pictures and videos. So why won't they go back? We're told it's the safest place for kids to be. Why won't they go back? Is it because, hey, we figured out we don't have to do this, so now we're not going to? Is this another $300 a week unemployment scam? What is it?
Follow the science until you find something that benefits you more. And look, first of all, I'm going to defend teachers a little bit before, and I'm with you. There are bad teachers out there, but there's also bad in every
agreed
in every profession.
Agreed.
I know a fair amount of teachers that, they are so into their students and helping their students and doing the right thing. I have a niece that goes to a private school. Teachers are unbelievable. I mean, the education she is getting at a private school, nowhere near what is happening at a lot of private or public schools. And the point of that is it the teacher or is it the environment that they're put in? Now, I have another relative who actually is a teacher at a public school, and she started out, she started out all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and she's going to change the world by being a teacher, until she had to make her first call to a parent. And boy, was that an attitude adjustment. Now, I don't know about you, but if my parents got a phone call from a teacher when I was a kid, I was in a world of hurt when I got home. There was a beating coming when I got home, and it just a matter of where I was going to get smacked around, punched around, beat with a whip, whatever happened, like a spoon thrown at me, something. My niece calls this parent's house, and she is lambasted. Why are you don't care about my kid? And, of course, race was thrown into it, and it was all the teacher's fault. And all she was calling to do was saying, look, you got to have your child do their homework when they get home. And there was no support from the family. So I think there's a lot of factors in there, and that being one of them is the environment. And it's eventually she got to the point now she's been doing it 10 or 15 years, and it's just, she's like, I can't keep fighting. If I don't have parents involved with me in making their student better, I can't do it on my own. So I think that happens to teachers, and I think that's unfortunate because I think most, if not all of them, start out with very, very good goals. Now, what you're talking about out in L.A., that's a whole different layer of arrogance.
Yeah.
And I think that trickles down from the teachers' unions and what they instill. I mean, how much power do they have? They're damn near running the COVID relief package. They're damn near running the government. They're telling Biden what he should do.
Yeah, and he listens. So we got about 10 minutes left in the big show, and I wanted to finish up with our favorite topic, the cancel culture. I wanted to run this by you. You probably already seen it. So we talked about how Dr. Seuss books are being labeled as derogatory and offensive. How can that be derogatory and offensive, but the song of the year by Cardi B, and for those of you who don't know what it is, it's Wet Blank Blank. Figure it out, Google it. That's the song of the year, but Dr. Seuss is offensive. Pepe Le Pew is offensive. Speedy Gonzalez is offensive. But have you ever watched The Family Guy or South Park? Apparently those guys are not offensive, especially the old dude who constantly says he loves young boys and is chasing Chris around on The Family Guy. So this is just getting to be ridiculous. Mr. Coffee, is he going to be next? He's not going to be allowed to be called Mr. Coffee anymore. What about if you take your car to be serviced at Mr. Tire? That's offensive too. Where do we go? Pepe Le Pew was cut out from the final cut of Space Jam 2, which I didn't watch Space Jam 1 because it just looks like it sucks to me. So why would I watch Space Jam 2?
Wasn't that with Michael Jordan?
Oh, yeah.
Space Jam 1? Isn't that what it was?
Wait, you mean, okay, the GOAT of basketball, but yet turned around and dissed all the people he played with during that series on ESPN? That Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Isn't that what it was, though? Isn't that what the
Bugs Bunny and Michael Jordan?
Stuff?
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch it.
I didn't either. I couldn't tell you one scene from it, but I don't know why I remember that, but I just happen to remember.
Yeah, I mean, I could literally, and we talked about this briefly, I could sit here and think of a reason that anything is derogatory, but it's just ridiculous. We need to cancel the cancel culture. That's my takeaway.
I just want you to know I'm a certified freak 7 days a week. Never mind.
Yeah.
Sounded
just like Cardi B.
While you were reading your little open there, I went and I Googled WAP. And, for those of you, newer to the show, we actually have a webcam going on, the Hall of Justice cam going on, and we can see each other. And I do declare I am blushing right now after reading those lyrics. I'm not sure you can do that. Is that even legal? What she's suggesting in there? I think that's a felony in most states. But
that's a song of the year, though, baby.
But it's okie dokie. No, look, we always, we try to be honest with our audience. We try to be honest with each other, and this is just an honest opinion. I have always believed that the double standard in speech is a horrible concept, and I believe I don't like censorship in any form. To be honest with you, I don't like that certain people can use the N-word and certain people can't. I don't like that certain people can have lyrics and it be seriously, Google the lyrics. Not when any of your teenagers or younger.
They already know the words.
Google the lyrics and look at them. Yeah, that's true. They know. They already know them. But look at those words and look again. I don't want to censor Cardi B or Cardi A for that matter. I don't want to.
That's offensive.
I don't want to get rid of any of the Cardis. They can all say what they want. But you can't have a situation where that type of lyrics is not only is it it's a song, it's song of the year. And then you're gonna now look if you go back and look at Pepe Le Pew cartoons, but they're cartoons. You know what I mean? They're cartoons, but it teaches rape culture, and this is just. When does it end? We've talked about it before. We talked about it last week with Carl. Indian motorcycles. That has to be. And I'm not even kidding you about this. I'm a motorcycle enthusiast. I'm thinking about getting an Indian as my next bike. I really am. But they have the Indian Scout. They have a chieftain, an Indian chieftain. They have the headdress as part of their logo. When's it going to happen when somebody, one of the woketeers sees Indian motorcycles and then they put the kibosh on Indian motorcycles and something I paid $40,000 for a year later, it has no value because the woketeers got it. We have got to stop this. We have got to thicken up a little bit. We've got to go back to when if something was truly offensive, we knew it was offensive. Not I got to go find something offensive, and that's where we've gone number before. Was it a Supreme Court justice, I think, said it, or maybe it was a senator or a congressman. I can't tell you what pornography is, but I know it when I see it. We should be pretty much able to say that's offensive and not everything be offensive. And this is a slippery slope. I've said it to you before. I think this is the number one thing that threatens America more than anything else, including Joe Biden and his sidekick Kakala. This is by far the number one threat to this country. If we can't talk to each other, if we can't exchange ideas and everything's offensive, we're done. We're absolutely done.
Yeah. Growing up, it was, to me, if you didn't like something, you didn't watch it or you didn't listen to it. If something offended you, you didn't do it. And we knew what was offensive and what wasn't back then. And now I don't know if that's offensive. I have to wait until somebody tells me it is. So it's not so much that things are offensive. It's things that people don't like, I think. And then it has to be offensive because they have to label it instead of having the thick skin to scroll on or to turn the channel or to not watch it. If Pepe Le Pew bothers you, you have issues. If a plastic potato has somehow scarred you, you have issues. That's all I have to say. You need help. You need real help if a potato has offended you.
And, I've had some liberal friends express that, well, you're making a bigger deal out of this, especially things like the potato. They didn't really change anything. They didn't really do anything. It was just a company was sitting around and made this decision. Same as Coca-Cola was just sitting around and they had to figure out to tell their employees to be less white. These are just companies having these small meetings. It's no big deal. But what they don't see the bigger picture. That somebody had to be sitting in that Hasbro, which is offensive as far as I'm concerned, having the word bro in there. Can't it be has cis toys instead of Hasbro? And we could spell cis, C-I-S. I don't even know what that means, cis. But apparently, aren't heterosexual male cis? Mm-hmm. Anyways, but there had to be an environment where people were sitting around a table and somebody goes, hey, you know what? We better take the mister off the potato head. And a bunch of corporate middle managers went, yeah. We need rabble. Yeah, we better do that. Then it went to the executive board and they're like, rabble. Oh yeah, we better do that. We got to get rid of the mister on the potato head. So there's an environment because businesses don't just do something, especially changing a brand name or changing the brand anything. They don't just do that because there's an environment that says we've got to go looking. We've got to self-examine everything to see what's offensive. You got to go looking for the stuff that's offensive before somebody cancels you.
I'm going to go down to my local Target and see if they got the latest action figure. It's called Social Worker Joe. Used to be G.I. Joe, but they found out that the military was offensive, so now it's Social Worker Joe. It's supposed to be released this week. I'm going to swing down there. Remember, as we're coming to the end of the show, there's really only two kinds of people in the USA right now. It's those that are embarrassed by Joe Biden and those who are lying and pretending not to be embarrassed by Joe Biden. So figure out which kind of person you are.
It's just we really, I mean, I know we joke a little bit on this show about it, but we really need to have some conversations about not everything is offensive. And, and before we wrap things up, I do have one more thing that I want to hit on just briefly before we wrap up.
Go ahead. We're ready.
Oh, okay. H.R. 1. We don't have time to go over the whole bill, and we will at some point. H.R. 1, I was looking through H.R. 1 to see everything that was in it because we've heard some of the stuff that was in it. But here's one of the things, and this should scare the pants off of everybody. Republican or Democrat, independent, communist, and Antifa, if you are breathing, this one should scare you. H.R. 1 will authorize the Internal Revenue Service to engage in partisan activity. It would permit the IRS, stay with me on this one. This is important. We should have done this earlier because this is important. It would permit the IRS to investigate and consider the political and policy positions of nonprofit organizations before granting tax-exempt status. The IRS would then be able to target organizations engaging in First Amendment activity if they didn't like the views. Translation, Trump's anything Trump, anything right-wing, and don't act like they've never done this before. Obama did it, okay? He sicked the IRS on right-leaning organizations that were looking for tax-exempt status.
The Tea Party?
But this is actually going to put it into law that it's allowable. It's allowable for you to be targeted and not get tax-exempt status. You could be targeted by the IRS just because your beliefs aren't what the administration in power believes in.
Yeah, and I don't doubt it. I don't believe. I don't not think it's going to happen. As we talked before, it's a stacked deck, and they're dealing the cards. So that's.
Yeah, it keeps getting worse and worse. We better wake up, America. And last I got a funny thing. You want to do a funny thing before we go?
I'm always in for funny.
Finally, someone in the White House has some teeth.
Ah, yes.
This time, the teeth are not sitting in a glass of water next to the table, though.
Oh, my.
Biden deported, and this just goes to show Biden's no different than Trump. He deported his dogs back to Delaware after Major. Now, they made a big deal out of they made Major wasn't a minor. They made a big deal out of Major because he was the first rescue dog to occupy the people's house. He attempted to bite a security member and was also lunging at staff. Champ, who apparently wasn't doing those things, that's the other dog, he was also deported due to guilt by association. And so there you go. The big deal out of how much better Biden was of a person because he had dogs and Trump didn't have dogs. The dogs are attacking the staff.
Yeah. They should have kept the dog in the White House and sent Biden home. All righty, folks. That's it for the Halls of Justice this week. I'm Justus along with the Fat Man. We will see you again next week. Don't forget, get those emails into us, justice@hallsofjustice.com.
You've been listening to The Halls of Justice. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you have a show idea, would like to be a guest, or just want to communicate with the show, email us at hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com. You can also find us on Facebook. Tell all your friends. And we'll see you for a new episode next week of The Halls of Justice.